on that posterior chain today in our hips, I guess. So what we're going to get after is a warm-up, and then we're going to go through smashing today, mainly with lacrosse ball, so through distraction, kind of in and around that glute area, and then we're going to test it out first with some cars, go through all our smashing, some SMR, and then retest again and see that new range of motion we're going to get.
And pails and rails. We forgot. But yeah, pails and rails is on that.
Yeah, it is. Definitely is.
Yeah, so
cool.
Similar format to what we've done for our foot, and then the anterior side of the hip, and now we're doing it on the back side.
The booty.
Butt stuff.
Butt stuff, yeah.
Cool. Do you want me to take you through the warm-up, or do you want to take me?
Take me. I want to warm up.
You're going to do the one rolling out today, so let's take you through the warm-up.
I want to be the one nice and warm, because I'm going to have to smash out some
get out
nasty
of the way
areas.
And lead you through this.
Okay.
Cool. All right, crew, here we go. You're going to start on your feet and then just inchworm your way down into a high plank. Do a couple things similar to what we do often in HIIT class. We're going to push ourselves back to down dog. Drive your butt up in the air. Push through the heels of your hands. Slight bend in the knees, stretching out the hamstrings a little. Very good. Come forward to high plank again. Big breath in. Push back to down dog. Exhale. This time I want you to pedal those feet. Drop a heel, hold it for a second or two. And then the other side. Let's go back and forth half a dozen times. That's 6. 6 on each side. Whole time pushing through the heels of your hands, trying to extend. Get a good stretch to the back side of those legs. Once you've got 6 done on each side, come back to your high plank.
I got one more each side.
All right. Take your time. No rush. I mean, I don't feel like I'm doing anything right now, so I'm not counting, so maybe it feels a little quick for me, but you take your time. One more time. Down dog. This time single leg. Drive one leg up in the air here. Jenny's picked her right side. She's opened up her hips a little bit. That's good. Take that leg. Replace the same side hand. So big step forward into a lunge. Back knee stays off the ground. We're going to go into our hip opener. So we're reaching across, threading that needle, then pushing into the floor, twisting our hand into the floor, rotating the rib cage to open up, and getting a stretch on that same side of the hip. So you should feel that hip sunk back as you rotate towards it. Is that what you feel?
Yes.
Excellent. Give me 6 again. Half a dozen. Very good. Step back into your high plank. Push back to single leg down dog on the other side. Open up those hips if you want. Take a second. When you're ready, swing that leg forward. Big step in front. Hip openers again, 6 of them. Other direction. Take your time through this, guys. Breathe. You're breathing in as you reach under, and then exhaling at the top. And you can see Jenny holds that for a second or two when she gets up to the top. Kind of finishes that exhale. Really sinks into that hip. Just get a little stretch through the backside there. When you're done, step back. Very good. Push back to down dog. Let's take a second there. Let's do a little bit of work for those hip flexors. Make sure they're loosening up because we're going to go through 90-90 next. And if they're really tight, we have a hard time rotating. So, again, big step forward. Lift that leg if you'd like. Or big step forward into that lunge. Back knee hits the ground this time. Sitting up nice and tall. Squeeze your bum. Reach and rotate. When you come up like that, Jenny, and all your hair's in front of your face, you kind of look like Cousin It.
Or that creepy chick off The Ring, is it?
I don't know.
Where she walks to the TV, to that circle, and comes in.
That's too new school for me. I haven't seen
I don't know.
that.
I don't watch any horror movies, so this is all just what people tell me happens. And I'm like, that sounds awful. I'll never watch that.
I concur. Although I have seen Addams Family, of course, because it's a classic. Hence
Yeah, I've
the
seen that.
president.
Yeah.
So we're going to hold this for about 4 or 5 breaths, let's call it. So big exhales. When you're done, hand hits the ground. Both of them, actually. Step back to high plank. Let's give a little push back into down dog. Hang out just for a breath or two, and then other leg will come forward. We'll do the same thing on the other side.
Cousin It style.
Yeah. So again, when Jenny's in this position, the forward leg is kind of pulling backwards. The back leg is pushing forward. She's squeezing that bum, and then she's rotating to get that stretch. And then if you want a little extra, you can almost think about taking your back knee and dragging it into the floor like you're trying to pull it forward, because then you're going to stretch that muscle, that psoas, under tension, which adds a little more intensity to it. It's a good way, again, like pails and rails style, it's a good way if you do that, you think about dragging it into the floor, build some intensity, and then you relax it and see if you can get deeper into a stretch. That's a good way to add to your stretches as well. Very good. When you're done, both hands are on the floor after those 4 or 5 breaths. Good. Step back to high plank. Good. Put your knees down. Now take one of your legs, sit through. We're going to sit on our bum and come into 90-90. There we go. So, knees are both at 90 degrees. Again, we're just warming up, so we're not going to spend a ton of time stretching, right? We're just going to go back and forth. I want 6 times back and forth. And each time you hit this end range of motion, kind of where Jenny is again, your back hip rotates forward. Your front leg tries to suck backwards. You're also going to take your backside hand and reach it in line with your thigh. Reach with your belly button. So don't collapse. Take your belly button. Think there's a string attached to it. Pull forward as you reach. After you get rid of your exhale, rotate to the other side. So Jenny will turn her back to you so you can kind of see the backside. So again, this hip pushing forward, other one sucking back. Reach, rotate. Big exhale. Take your time. Exhales last 5 to 8 seconds. Nice, slow, controlled breathing, as we always do in our mobility classes. So you can do 6 of those on each side, Jenny. So don't hold it for like 3 or 4 breaths. There we go.
Oh, I'm just walking back and forth?
Yeah, back and forth. Thank you. I mean, you could definitely hold it if you wanted to, but for the sake of time, we'll go back and forth. Still add that reach.
Oh.
Exhale. One big exhale. And then as you breathe in, rotate. Transfer to the other side. As you exhale, reach. Gentle stretch. And return. Let's do 2 more on each side.
Keep moving when I do these.
Yeah, the bum likes to scooch forward a little bit, doesn't it? That's normal. Happens to everybody.
It's like scooting from one sit bone to the other, and
Yeah.
I just keep traveling over there.
Good. All right. How you feeling?
Nice.
A little bit warm. We've gone through some range of motion.
Yep.
Okay. So get yourself back onto your feet. And now we're going to do a little bit of movement testing, and we'll come back and do this later like we've done many times before. We're going to use our box here. If you have an ottoman, a coffee table, your couch, the arm of a couch, depending on how high that is, that would work great. We're going to do some cars on here. So all we're going to do is stand in place. And again, if you've ever done one of our HIIT classes, we do cars as our movement prep a lot. All we're going to do is try to stand up straight and bring this foot up and over and around without our body twisting, turning, or teeter-tottering, as I like to call it. So I'd like you to do 3 of those on each side for us. And I'll scooch over here. So the one thing I'll mention is if you're having a really hard time with balance, if you have something or someone to hold on to, there you go. That's helpful. Put a little weight down on that person.
Handy dandy shoulder.
But if you can control this without a lot of movement, that works too. And Jenny's got this nice jacket on with this zipper, so you can see how straight her body is, which is really nice. So if she was tilting or twisting, you'd see that zipper kind of move out of line. We're thinking our nose trying to be in line with our belly button the entire time. So after, let's call it 3 in each direction, kind of just get an idea of how that feels. Turn around for us, Jenny. Let's do the same thing.
Malfunction. I'm going to put it in my pocket now.
There you go. So she brings it up. She rotates it around because she's trying to clear that space, and then brings the knee back to where it was. And then same thing.
That was too close.
Back up. She's got to lift, rotate, swing that leg around, and put it back down, all to the best you can. And pick something you can get your foot over and your knee over with relative ease. So this is, I would say, a little bit challenging for Jenny, which is perfect. But if we elevated it, say, a couple inches higher, she'd probably end up, her knee or her foot would hit it, as she's almost hitting the box already. And that would be too high.
Or I'd be doing this.
Exactly. And that's what we don't want.
No.
Good. So how did that feel, right?
Nice, yeah.
Okay.
I can definitely feel my hips starting to engage now.
So just be mindful of how it felt for you and how high you could get that leg, because the whole point is after we do everything we do, it feels either smoother or you have a better range of motion or just more control of the range of motion you have. Any of those things would be worthwhile changes that we've achieved.
Exactly.
Okay, now we're smashing stuff.
Yes.
Okay, we're starting with a couple spots on the hip. So we're going to go piriformis first, and then we're going to go into a side hip smash. We're going to do those two, and then we're going to distract the hip using the band, pulling it backwards, and then we're going to do our pails and rails, and then we'll retest with some of those cars that we just did and see how it feels again. Sounds good? Okay,
Yep.
so take your lacrosse ball. If you don't have a lacrosse ball, a roller would work fine. It's harder to smash on a roller, but you would take the edge of the roller and see if you can dig it into a spot, or you could just roll out. That would be fine too, a lower intense weight of doing it. So Jenny is going to put the ball in her piriformis, which is medium in the hip towards the outside backside. And this is one of the ones, if you've watched our anterior hip, kind of like the TFL. When you find that spot, you'll know it because it feels like somebody's digging a knife into you. Yeah.
Solid.
So she's got it on her right hip. She's going to put her right leg onto her left knee in that figure 4 position. And then she's going to roll around until she finds it. And when she does find it, you'll probably see the expression on her face change, like she's getting stabbed. And then
it all feels like I'm getting stabbed.
Well, it's tight everywhere then.
It is tight everywhere.
We should have good results when we're done.
Right there, though.
There you go. See, the face changed, which means I'm going to come over here. I'm going to start the clock for Jenny, and we're going to hang out
Thank
here
goodness.
for about 60 to 90 seconds. Now, the key with smashing is you're trying to get your system to calm down. So that means you have to calm down. You
And
can't
breathe.
stay tight. Yes, exactly. You
And it
can't
takes
stay tight and
time.
breathe. It does.
That's why it's 60 to 90 seconds
Yeah.
chilling out on the floor.
And that's kind of what I would call a minimum. I would probably say 2 minutes is a good amount of time to spend on the ball. And if it's not calming down, I might walk around, get up, and try another 2 minutes. There's no reason to sit on it for 5, 6, 7 minutes straight. It's not wrong to do that. But I would probably just get up and move around if it's not calming down in that 2 minutes. I just go for a 30 seconds walk and try again. There's nothing wrong with taking a little rest interval in that time. Now, you can sit on it and just smash like we're doing, or you can add a little bit of perturbations, move your bum around, wiggle it, dig in.
Ouch.
But again, we are just trying to breathe through this. And then all you do is chill out. We got about 15 seconds until we get to 90. Good. Pop off that ball. That was 90 seconds. Kind of give it a wiggle. Again, if you want to stand up, go for a little walk.
Yeah,
That would be good too.
mind.
Or even just marching on the spot, kind of moving it around.
Or just flex it, let it go.
Now, do you want to go high hip on the same side, Jenny?
Let's do piriformis on the left.
You want to go back and forth?
then,
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to the other side. Do the exact same thing, piriformis. The reason I asked that was because sometimes it's fun to do all the work on one side and then test and see how it feels compared to the other side. So you understand what may have loosened up on you. Loosened up being a very generalized term, not a technical term for your muscles actually getting loose. So same thing on the other side. Your time starts now. You got 90 seconds. Again, roll around a little bit. Find that spot. When you find it, just breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Nice, calm, soothing breaths. That's my calm, soothing voice for you. And then you can always dig in, wiggle it back and forth a little bit if you want to get a little more aggressive and beat up some of those kind of like knotty feeling areas. Both terms of naughty work there. Again, just breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. That's a minute. We'll go 30 more seconds. More to go. Take one more deep breath. Breathe it all out. When you're ready, off that ball, move around again. Go for a little walk if you like. You could do some 90-90s again. Whatever you want to kind of just move around is a good idea.
My arms fell asleep. Nice.
All right, ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to do a side hip. So we were kind of in this area for a Piriformis, right? A little lower.
Right in there.
Jenny will show you best because she had the ball exactly there. A little more backside.
Yep.
Now we're coming up a little higher and a little more side hip, or at least back and forth in that area.
Yeah, kind of like this spot.
Cool.
We're going to
So
roll around the whole thing.
if you're wearing pants like Jenny is, or even myself, we got a nice little line here. So Jenny's like on the top of her pockets, you know, where your jean pockets would be. Right on the top of that pocket line. Let's roll back and forth from there. So this time you're not going to cross into the figure four. You're actually going to kind of rotate your body back and forth, similar to what we do on a roller for your TFL.
And this one's pretty nasty. So definitely breathing through this one is the way to go.
So again, she's got the ball higher on in the hip, right in the top of the glute area, and she's kind of moving back and forth, going medial to where some of that meat is, to over to the side where it gets thinner. Not all the way to the front of the hip where just you're feeling bone or where the TFL is again. Stay on that back side. And I got your timer started, so we'll do 90 seconds here as well. How is this one? Nastier than Piriformis or
Yep.
same for you? Nastier?
Mm-hmm. Right on that back area. Kind of like the ridge or where your glute sits. Right before it attaches to your hips. Your hip bones. It's solidly nasty in there.
Check the clock here. We're at a minute. Let's go 30 more seconds.
Although I find the nastier it feels to start with, the more relief I get when I'm off of it later.
Absolutely.
It feels so nice.
It's like boiling water. Boiling water is faster when you put cold water in the pot because the temperature change is more extreme, so you get results faster. Same thing here. If it's already feeling good, rolling out isn't going to get you too much. Sure, it might help a little, but when it's really nasty, you're going to get larger results. Boom, there you go. That was just over a minute. Again, if you like, stand up, do a little walking around, shake it out. We'll give you 20 or 30 seconds here. Just move. You can do some 90-90s on the floor, similar to what we did in our warm-up. see how that guy's feeling as you rotate back and forth. And then whenever you're ready, just do the other side.
Turn this way this time.
All right. Yeah, show us exactly where that ball's going.
Right there.
So Jenny's put it really close to her midline, right about here to start, and then she's working that ball back and forth.
Yeah.
Right there.
Kind of along that ridge. This
Again.
side is way less restricted, it's feeling.
Left leg.
Yeah.
Again, just breathe through this. Take your time in through your nose, out through your mouth. Got that 90 seconds again. This is a much easier job, just talking than
Yeah.
flying in the ball like I did last time, I must say. So you're a little more vertical this time. Last time you were a little more sideline. Is there a reason for that on this side? Or is this just the nastier spot for you when you do this side? It's more medial.
More on the posterolateral side, it's feeling.
Okay.
So yeah, I didn't really like leaning down into that side might be a little more painful for me. But I also just felt comfier on my arms like this one.
Gotcha. We're a little over a minute. Let's go another, check the clock. Let's go another 15. Give me 2 or 3 deep breaths. Good. That last deep breath, get rid of that exhale. And then take your choice again. Stand up, go for a little walk, shake it out, march it out a little, or do some 90-90s.
I'm gonna walk this one out.
You're going to walk this one out after 990s last time?
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Nice.
Excellent. So now we're going to do some banded distractions, excuse me. So we're using the band to help us stretch. We're also distracting the hip, which means we're pulling against the joint, trying to create some tension in there, right? We can use that again to stretch the soft tissue around that. Now, a couple different ways we can do this. None of them are wrong. We're probably going to touch on all of them. Are you going to change your position throughout?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So we're going to set up the band lateral to start. So Jenny's going to face you guys, and the band is coming from beside her. It's really high up on the hip. So I'm talking like right up in that groinish area. Okay? Now, she's going to get a decent stretch. You need some tension on that band. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. And then she's going to come into a lunge, and she's really going to drive the hip forward, and she's going to let the band suck her hip into me. So we want a lot of tension here this way, right? She's going to offset that in 2 different ways. She's going to rotate her right shoulder towards me a little bit, give me a little rotation, and then again let the band pull in. She could even come into more of a hip opener position if that was a better balance for her, where her hand was on the ground and she was rotating. Because if she rotates this way, exactly, that hip sticks out and we get some pull on it, right? And by sticks out, I mean it comes to me before it curls back in towards her, but the band catches it right at that point and doesn't let it move, giving it that distraction we're looking for. Now, this is a position you can spend those 2, 4, 5, 6 minutes in if you really wanted to. We'll probably spend about a minute in each, and we're going to go for 2 or 3 of these positions on each side.
Yeah, it's good to switch up the position depending on like where that hip is feeling restriction. If you don't really know what it feels like, it's good to check out a bunch of different positions because hopefully one of them will release it.
Absolutely. We got
and
10 more
you'll probably
seconds.
feel it too.
10 more seconds, and then I want you to turn about 45 degrees away from the band. So one more breath, get rid of that exhale. and then rotate away a little bit. So, turns her whole body. She's now on a little more of this direction than facing you. So now the band is pulling in a little bit of a different direction. Again, lots of stretch, drives into it, a little bit of rotation.
The leg back a bit further
let it
into
pull.
the joint. This one's feeling nice for me. Just kind of sucking it back into the hip. My leg.
That's
pulling
good.
posteriorly. I like.
The reason we do our smashing first is to loosen up some of the soft tissue in that area, so it's more likely to accept some of this pulling and stretching that the distraction creates. If you do this first, you're not really taking advantage of that extra range of motion that some of that myofascial release gives you. Good. So that's another minute. Now I want you to turn another 45 degrees, so you're almost facing away from the band, fairly parallel to it. So turn a little bit more. There we go. Now it's pulling much more backwards than sideways. We'll spend another minute here before we go to the other side. And just like when you're smashing, you're just breathing in through your nose and then out through your mouth, trying to breathe, and relax at the same time. Let that band suck in more and more. Every exhale, you should be able to get a little bit more relaxed and let that band kind of pull you more and more into those positions. Very good. That was another minute. Back out of there whenever you're ready on your own time. Good. I would again get up, go for a little walk, march it around, and kind of move in these hip opener, can opener kind of positions so that you can feel what one hip now feels like compared to the other. A good retest is always a smart idea. You could do it. We do it at the start and the end, but technically you could do it after each one of these smashes or movements or distractions to see how much that particular thing helped you.
Yep.
Okay. Let's go again. Let's do the other side.
I'm ready for it.
So this time you got your back to the crew. Getting a decent amount of pull. Went nice and high up in the hip. And Jenny's just a few inches ahead of her anchor point, right? And then she's going to get into that lunge position, a little rotation, again, sticking those hips back so that the band can do its job and pull into that position. We've talked about this before, but I didn't mention it yet. We've got our band attached to our big open plyo box here. I call Pandora's box. For you at home, put it to anything that's anchored and heavy to the ground. So probably your best thing is a heavy sofa or sectional, something like that. You could technically do a coffee table or whatever, as long as you got enough stuff on it. The band's not going to actually pull it and drag it. And then, of course, if you're lucky enough to actually have a home gym or something like that, you could attach it to your bench or your weight rack, something like that, something that's not going to move. Another good idea, though, is to tie a knot in it. Put it underneath the door, in this case, because you have a low anchor point. Close the door, and then pull it tight against the door. Make sure you're pulling against a door closing, not a door opening. You don't want accidentally that door to fling open, and then the band comes in, snaps you in the butt. Unless you're into that kind of thing. All right, that was probably over a minute. I don't know, I haven't checked the time. Give me 45-degree turn to your left, Jenny. So same idea, a little different direction. I mean, everybody likes a good towel whip every once in a while, right?
I don't know if everybody does.
No?
Depending, I don't know. My sister terrorized me around the house. She'd wet the tip of it because she wasn't very good at just flicking it. And then I would have welts and it would hurt.
Okay, let me rephrase that then. Everybody appreciates the the love and care and the meaning behind one of those whips. Maybe not the whip itself.
I'm not sure how much caring she was giving me.
I don't know. I've never had
Sisterly
somebody
love?
who doesn't like me whip me with a towel. There's always like your friends or your buddies.
I think it's because if a stranger did it, you know you'd get punched.
Yeah, maybe that's true. A bond needs to be there before any towel whipping occurs.
I think so.
All right. This production's really run off the rails now. Good. Another 90 degrees turn to your left. So now again the band is pulling more backwards than sideways. Again, you're kind of in a lunge position. You can see Jenny's really driving that knee forward as well, keeping her heel down. So if you go back to our ankle episode, she's actually working on some dorsiflexion here in the ankle as well.
Yeah.
So she might be getting a stretch through some Achilles. We're just working on some of that range of motion as well. So a lot of the things that we're teaching you can be transferred to another class, another skill, whether it's yoga or row or HIIT. Some of these same strategies and models and concepts work for all human movement. Let's go another 30. Then we'll do some pails and rails, retest with our cars, and then we'll get you out of here, guys. Ten seconds. Breathe into it. Last exhale. Let that band pull the hip back and work your way out of it whenever you're ready. Good.
Lovely.
Alrighty. Cool. All right, let's get you. Walk around, do a little march again. And let's get you down into 90-90. This is where we're going to do our pails and rails. Today we're going to work on action of the front side, because last time we did backside. To be honest, there's no particular reason we did backside last time and front side this time. Either way, we're working on glutes or groin, right? So
and
you could
rotation.
Absolutely, and then the rotation of the
the hip.
exercise. So if you remember from last time we were doing hips, pails and rails. Pails is creating an action down for a little while, and then the rails, is the opposite direction for a little while. So what we're going to do is we're slowly going to ramp up how hard we push down, and then we're going to try to lift. We're focusing on the front leg today. So what I want you to do, Jenny, is take your front leg, that shin bone, push it into the ground as hard as you can. Now let's start at 10%. Sorry, I shouldn't have said as hard as you can right away. 10%. 20%, start pushing harder, gradually 30, push harder, 40, 50, 60, come on, push that shin into the floor, 70, 80, 90, 100. As hard as you can push that leg down into the floor, you're holding it for 10 seconds. Push into the floor, push into the floor. Couple seconds left. Good. Now, stop. Now lift that leg off the floor. Now, it won't actually get off the floor. I've never seen anybody lift their front leg off the floor, but you can see she's trying to lift her foot. She's trying to lift the shin off the floor. She didn't change her body position. It would be really easy for her to tip over to her right and get that leg off the floor, but that is not what we're trying to do here. And we're trying to lift and hold for another 10 seconds. Lift the knee, lift the whole lower leg off the floor. Now when you do that, Jenny, you got another 5 seconds. Take a big breath while you do it. What are you feeling? What's working while you do that?
So many.
Good, relax. We're going to do it one more time on that side. But where do you feel that most?
Well, glutes for sure, into my inside mid-thigh. Lower leg is trying to pull it up to that posterior side.
So all along the inside of your leg,
Yep.
and then some glutes as well.
And some glutes at the top.
Okay, cool.
And definitely those quads are working too on the push down.
Down, yeah.
Pulling up is a little more into those hammies, into those glutes.
I agree. You should feel a little more outside of the leg on the way down, a little more inside of the leg on the way up. Okay, let's do it again. Slowly ramping up how hard we push into the floor. Ready? Go. 10%, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Everything you got. Everything you got. Push hard for 10 seconds. Your back hip should even be engaged. You should be trying to rotate your hips forward. Your core is bracing. It's hard to produce power if that core isn't bracing. And time, lift now that leg. Don't just lift the knee, Jenny. Try to lift the ankle as well, that whole lower leg. There you go. Again, it would be easy to just lift the knee off the ground, or just even the ankle off the ground if you're pushing your knee into the ground. But I want that whole lower leg to be evenly lifted to the best of your ability. Remember, it's the intention behind it that matters more than the foot or shin actually getting off the floor. Time. Good. That was 20 seconds. Let's rotate to the other side and do the other side.
I'll still keep
You
it
can just
forward.
switch. Yeah, absolutely. Now that you're there, then you switch though, Jenny. Yeah, can you rotate back and forth for me a couple times just in your 90-90? Let's kind of let that guy ease off and relax a little bit. So again, what we've done is we've rolled out to create range of motion. We did some distraction also to kind of create some new range of motion within that joint. And now we're trying to strengthen some of the muscles, mostly isometrically, around that joint. And with consistent use of that concept and pattern, we should both be able to gain more range of motion and be strong enough to control that range of motion, which is basically the definition of mobility. It is control of a given range of motion.
Yeah, because we're not just wanting you to be able to move more. We want you to be able to control that motion and use it.
That's right.
Otherwise, if you just have a limb flying around, it might not be so good.
It's equally as bad to be really strong and
Extra.
stiff as it is to be weak and really like loose and flexible.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
Somewhere in the middle is your best
Bread and
perfect
butter.
answer. Your Goldilocks zone. Ready? Slowly
Yes.
pushing that leg down into the floor for 10 seconds, gradually getting stronger and stronger at it. And 10, 20, 30%, 40, push harder, 50, 60, 70. That back hip's engaged. That core's starting to get engaged harder as you push down. 80, 90, 100%. Hold it for 10 seconds. Push that lower leg into the floor. The ankle, the knee, that whole lower leg. You'll even feel probably some of that upper leg and thigh pushing down. You got a couple more seconds. Good. Relax and lift. Stay engaged. Stay leaning over that leg just ever so slightly. We don't want to tip backwards. Our back hip is engaged as well. It's hard to create strength, power, force if you don't have a good foundation. Last couple seconds. Time. Very good. Take a second if you need it. We'll do it again. If you want to rotate back and forth a couple times, go for it. Good. Let's finish it off. Second time on this side, driving that leg down gradually, slowly ramping it up to 1. Let's go. 10%, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Come on, pick it up. 90. Hard as you can. Core should be engaged. That back hip's engaged. And of course that front side. Push that shin into the floor. The ankle bone, the knee, the whole lower leg. Couple more seconds. Time. Very good. Lift. Lift that leg now. Holding it for about 20. You can see the second time Jenny's done this, both times, that knee's been able to get a little higher off the floor. She can't quite get the ankle.
Yeah, ankle likes to be sucked to the ground.
But you
No matter
can
how
see
hard I pull.
there's more work being done, right? She's able to get a stronger contraction.
Yep.
5 more seconds. Come on, lift, lift, lift. Work at it. Time. Good. Rotate back and forth. Do it 3 or 4 times each side. Just go through your 90-90. Loosen that guy up. You're just relaxed. You can add that reach and that stretch back in, but just for an exhale. Don't hold it. I want you moving nicely.
Oh man, I can already feel everything nice and loose.
And after you've gone back and forth 4 times, Jenny, let's just get you to stand up. Let's do our cars over our box again. MU crew, you at home, same thing. We're going to do those cars that we started with kind of as our test to see how much movement, range of motion, and how smooth it was. Let's do that again. And then I just want you to be mindful of how it feels this second time compared to the first. Are you tilting? Are you raising your hip? Are you hiking it up? Or do you have a smoother range of motion with better control? Just like we did when we warmed up, let's do 3 in each direction on each side. After me.
I certainly feel a lot smoother.
How so? Can you describe it more specifically for us?
In the hip joint mainly.
And what does that translate to as you're moving?
It's just less grab of my muscles trying to suck my hip down.
Okay.
So I feel like I can just lift it up a little bit smoother. My motion through that external rotation is a lot easier to get through.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm grinding through a muscle trying to get around it.
Okay. So right about...
Feels like it's relaxed a little more for me to just pick it up and swoop it through.
Now you can see Jenny's got a little bit of hip hike. It's easier to see when she's got her backside to you. But that's pretty normal. Most people do. So Jenny, put your hands on your hips for us. And just try to keep them at the same level. It's not going to be perfect. Everybody's a little different. But that's going to stop her from right there. See how she kind of likes to hike that hip up a little bit? We all do it to a certain extent. But do control it to your best of your ability, please. That's a better one. Nice job. Good work.
Whew.
A little bit of a walk around, march it out.
Nice.
Jenny, nice job. MU crew, that's what we got for you today. Thank you so much for joining us. That is kind of the backside of your hip. Of course, there are so many more drills and stuff we can add to that. We didn't even really touch on hamstring work or anything like that. So we'll make sure we get back around to stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
But thanks for joining us. We appreciate it, guys. We appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.